What makes a Jesuit a Jesuit? Well, that's a question. I don't know that I have a really good answer to it, although I've spent especially the last 20 years of my life dealing, even academically, with precisely this issue. It certainly comes down to, in many ways, a corporate religious culture, and absolutely fundamental, of course, is the experience of doing the full spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, which is an experience that all Jesuits share and do twice in their lives. Of course, the spiritual exercises is Catholic spirituality, but it does, I think, have this special characteristic of inspiring a desire to excel in whatever one does, and to stay with problems and issues no matter how difficult they become. I mean, again, that's part of general Christian spirituality, but it's certainly there very strongly in the spiritual exercises. So that's one thing I think that makes a Jesuit, but there's also the whole corporate culture and the lived tradition of the order, which it's really hard to put in words, but maybe I can illustrate it by saying that I was, about 25 years ago, I was a member of, twice, I was a member of a general congregation of the order, which is a general chapter. They meet quite infrequently, but there was one in the mid-1970s and one in the early 1980s. I was a member of both of those. These are Jesuits from all over the world, some in 1970, in both those congregations from behind the Iron Curtain, from Indonesia, from Australia, from Japan, so forth, Latin America, Argentina. Quite different cultures, quite different takes on almost every issue that you can think of, including ecclesiastical issues. But I kept saying to myself and to others, a Jesuit is a Jesuit is a Jesuit is a Jesuit. And one thing that struck me there in these congregations was straight talk. There was none of this, which I sometimes find kind of pious ecclesiastical sweet talk, and willingness to call a spade, often not knowing what to do once you'd call it a spade, but at least it had been called a spade, and it had been dealt with very straightforwardly and honestly and openly as possible. Jesuits, of course, in the anti-Jesuit myths have this great reputation for being dissemblers and filled with double talk and so on and so forth. I suppose there's some truth to that, but when you get right down to it, I mean, my experience has been just the opposite. And so that's one piece of the puzzle. And I think that's part of the corporate culture that Ignatius of Loyola insisted upon getting the news from all over the world, the bad news as well as the good news. And I've read some of those early letters of the Jesuits in my historical studies, and they're remarkable for their honesty about what's really going on. So that's a beginning of an answer at any rate.